Hello everyone, welcome to RcHelpDotCom. I'm Tony, and today we're going to be talking about this little guy. Now, first and foremost, this is a clone board, and the way you can tell it's a clone is right here where it says SP Racing. It does not have the Cleanflight logo. So if you don't have a Cleanflight logo right there, you know you didn't get a genuine board, and you shouldn't have paid over $25 for it. Now, this is the deluxe version that does have the barometer on it. It's also got a magnetometer. Just to run through the ports real quick, you've got your 8 ESC ports or servo ports. This right here is your boot port. It's got 2 pins. We will not be installing anything into it. You've got your VBAT port right here, which you could solder directly right there if you had some bigger wires. But you do get these wires right here to plug in to these plugs right here. Then of course you got your 2 main headers that you use to plug everything in. If you're, depending on what you're running, PPM, PWM, or whatever you're running, you'll more than likely use these. On some of them, you actually have to use both on one receiver to get it to control it correctly. And then of course up here, you've got your 4 ports here, and then you got your USB port. Like I said, you got your barometer right there. Make sure that you don't have air just flowing over it. You can, if you got the clone, you can put it in the case, and it does kind of help keep it from dropping pressure with air blowing over it, but you should still put a little piece of foam. The genuine Naze32 SP Racing F3s will actually come in a box with foam, and you can use that foam to cover that up. So if you're not going to be using GPS or anything, then it's not really that big of a deal. This is the one that GearBest sent me. Anything that comes from China is not a genuine board. I'll tell you that right now. So we got to do a few things on this. One, we have to solder our headers on. You've got a 90-degree header, you got a straight header, and then of course you've got your just single row that'll go right here on these right here. You just break them off wherever you need them, solder them on, and you're good to go. So I'm going to do the soldering in a different video, which I will link right up here somewhere. So if you want to see that video, guys, click on that link, go over, watch the video if you want to know how to solder these headers onto this board. So once I get done soldering, we'll come back, we'll install it in the quad, and we'll get to programming. Alright guys, so once you get your old board pulled out and you're ready to put your new board in, or if you don't have to do that, if you're ready to put your new board in, you need to figure out what kind of receiver you want to run. Are you going to want to run just a standard receiver and use all the wires that come with it? Or are you a Spectrum guy, you just want to do satellite? Or are you a Futaba guy, just want to use S-Bus or something like that? For me, I'm going to use a satellite, so we need to do a little soldering on here before we actually put it into the quad. And what we're going to do, we're going to go to this header right here. I know I put the pins in here, but we're going to go to this header, and the signal wire is going to go on the far left, the ground is on the far right, and then down here you've got your 3.3. That's where we're going to put the VCC or the red wire or the power wire. I'm going to put them all under here, that way I can keep them nice and clean. It is going to be soldered on. What I did is I had a wire just like this, and it had a broke negative lead back here on the back, so I just went ahead and cut the plug off, and I'm going to use this, and then this will allow me to put a satellite receiver anywhere I want. It also gets rid of the weight from all of this, and should make it fly a little bit better, and it's a lot cleaner. If you guys know me, I hate wires. Alright, once you have it soldered, like I said, here's your signal wire, there's your ground wire, and then right there is your main power wire. So that one's a little harder than these other two. So if you're new at soldering, again guys, practice on something else besides this board, because you really don't want to, solder and join something, plug it in, and then blow something up. So what you need to do is you need to download Chrome, go into your web store. You should have a little icon up there or a bookmark that says apps. Go in there, go into the web store, and then search for Cleanflight. You can do it 1 word or 2 words. I've had to do it both ways. Sometimes one will work, the other one wouldn't. So go in there, download it. Once you have it installed, all you have to do is get your micro USB cable. This is actually one for a brain, and plug it up. It should recognize it, but if it doesn't, you're going to have to find out what port your board's on and select your port. Your baud rate should be 115200, and then plug it in, hit connect, and it'll connect up. Alright guys, when you first fire this up, this is the page that you're going to see, And what we're going to do is we're just going to take our flight controller and go ahead and plug it in. I've got mine set to auto connect. So once it's connected, as you can see, everything's moving. It's moving slow. I'm not sure why it does that. Every now and then it'll do that and I have to restart it. But what we're going to do is we're going to click disconnect. We're going to come over here to the firmware flasher. This is the first thing we have to do. Right now I'm on 1.11. So we want to update to the latest one, and the board that I have is this one right here, and it's the latest stable release. Don't try to put a beta software on something that you're going to go out and fly unless you're doing some testing, but we're going to download this one here. So we'll click it, make sure manual baud rate is turned on, and it's 256,000. These other three, just turn them off. Come down here, hit load firmware. It'll bring up this page. You can read what's different from version 1.12.1, and then go ahead and flash the firmware. Now, like I said, I'm flashing from 1.11 to 1.13. I'm completely skipping 1.12. Right now it's flashing. Then it'll start verifying. And then once it verifies, the board will boot back up. Alright, board's booted back up. Now we can come over here, click connect in the top right corner, and as you see, everything's working. Everything's pitching right the way it's supposed to anyway. But if you remember, we're not going to install this to where it pitches forward like that. We're going to install it to where it pitches forward like this. And I know it's kind of out of focus, I apologize. So what we need to do now that we have it updated, we have our wire all soldered on and ready to go into the quad, is we're going to go ahead and put it in the quad. Alright, before we go ahead and bolt it on here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little wire management. Now, if you go here into the program, you can go over here in the configuration and it'll show you where the motors need to be plugged in. As you see, this back right motor will go into port 1, the right front motor will go into port 2, the back left motor will go into port 3, and then the front left will go into port 4. What I've done is little wire management, trying to keep all the wires down to a minimum, which is kind of hard on these. But I'm going to go ahead and plug these in. Like I said, you got 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So plug them in just like that. Guys, remember, on this board here, and I'm pretty sure it's all of them, this inside row is signal. This outside is your ground. If you hook it up backwards, there is no reverse polarity protection on these. If you hook it up backwards and you put the negative over here on the signal side, you're going to burn it up and you're going to be buying a new board. So remember, watch the polarity. If you can get the pins that have white, red, and black, guys, put those on. That's the absolute best way you can do this. So I'm going to go ahead and plug everything in, and then we're going to bolt it down. Now, if you guys decide to do it this way, make sure that these wires are not pulling on your flight controller. If you do that, you'll have problems with vibration. So make sure they're still got some slack in them, and then just screw the board down. I highly suggest plastic standoffs. Way less of a chance of shorting something out if something goes wrong. Alright, and with that, our board is secured into the quad. But if we go over here into setup, if you notice, whenever I tilt the nose up, it's tilting left. And if I tilt left, then it's tilting forward. That's because the arrow is facing that way. So the first adjustment we need to make is we need to go into configuration, and we're going to play with the yaw degree. Don't worry about roll degree, don't worry about pitch. The roll is if your board is sitting at an angle on the roll axis. And then the pitch is if your board is sitting at an angle on the pitch axis. So what we're going to do is yaw. So we're going to do probably 90 degrees. And then we'll go in, save and reboot. As you can see up here, saved, rebooting, ready. We'll go up here into setup, and then we'll look at it again. Now as you see, whenever I pitch up, it's actually pitching down. So we need to go back into configuration, and instead of 90, we're going to do 270. Now as you see, when I pitch the nose up, it goes up. When I pitch it to the right, it goes right, left, left, yaw, left, right. Everything is working like it should. Now one thing it did do is it turned it around to where when the quad's facing south, it looks like it's facing north. So what we need to do, go back into configuration, go to mag alignment, and select 90 degrees. And now pitch up, pitch down, pitch right, left, yaw right, yaw left. So everything is now working in the correct direction. Now remember, we turned my board counterclockwise 90 degrees. So we had to go positive 270 degrees in order to counteract it. And then over here, our mag alignment was clockwise 90 degrees. Because what you're looking at is you're taking your magnet from here, and you're going clockwise 90 degrees. Now the reason we're at 270 degrees on the yaw degree is because you face forward and it's calculating going clockwise. If you count that out, that's 270 degrees. You got 0, positive 90, positive 180, positive 270. So hopefully that'll help you out if you want to turn your board to where you can plug it in on the side like this and make it way easier. So now what we need to do is we need to set up the satellite receiver. Now guys, trust me on this. If you get just a regular receiver, get you an extension, plug this in, and bind this to your radio, it is so much easier than having to go through all the steps to bind it here on the Naze32. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and plug that in. Go ahead and turn our radio on. You don't even need to put power to it. As you can see there, we got our orange light. Everything's bound up. Now we can go over here, and if we look in receiver, we start moving the sticks, nothing happens. What we need to do is go into configuration, come down here and select RX serial. And in my case, I have to do 1024. I can't do 2048. I don't know why. I mean, it's kind of annoying. We'll go ahead and save and reload. Again, saved, rebooting, and then ready. Now we need to come up here into ports, and we did the UART3. We need to come over here and do serial receiver, and then save and reboot. Alright, let's go back into configuration. It likes to change this on me once in a while, just like it did there. You have to go in and do your port before you come in and do this. I forgot all about that. Alright, so we'll select receiver serial. Now, as you can see, it stayed on receiver serial. If we go into receiver, now as you can see, right there is our pitch. This is our throttle. Yeah, everything's backwards. If I move my aileron, which should be roll, it moves pitch. If I move the pitch, which is actually moving throttle, here's the throttle, which is moving roll, and then yaw is actually controlling yaw. What we need to do is we need to go up here, instead of AETR, which is the default, we need to go down here, select that, select save. Now we got our throttle, we got our yaw, we got our pitch, and then we got our roll. Now when you go to the right on yaw or rudder, holy crap, I can't hold any of it. If you go right on roll or you go right on yaw, the bar should go right. Now if you go up throttle or up elevator, they should go right as well. Make sure to go into your radio, into your travel adjustment, and set it to where you're at 1000 at low stick or bottom or left, and then at high stick you want 2000. As you can see, I'm at 2000 on both of those. I'm at 999 on both of those. That's exactly where you want those. So we'll just click save again, just because I don't want to lose anything. Now we're going to go back into configuration, and I'm going to go ahead and leave this on. This has to be on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this one to 1075. I know I'm typing slow. My keyboard's kind of hidden because of this camera. And then this is 1500, and this one should be 2000. Your minimum command, leave it 1000. So we're going to go ahead, save and reboot. Now we need to come down here into modes, and we need to set up something to arm it. Now for me, my auxiliary 1 is actually the switch that would be the trainer on like the DX6i. We're going to move this up here. As you can see, we got this little green bar right there. And if I flip my switch, it goes off. Forward or down, whichever way you want to look at it, then it arms it. If I flip it up, like I'm hitting throttle hold, except it's on the left side, it'll disarm it. So we definitely want that. We'll go ahead and click save. As you can see up here, it says saved. And then we got angle and horizon. Now, angle will only give you so much pitch. You can only pitch it so far. Horizon, if you hit full stick, it'll actually do a flip, but once you let go, it'll level back out. So we're going to set this one up on auxiliary 2. And as you can see, I've got a 3-position switch on that one. I'm going to leave it in the middle for horizon. We're going to go ahead and put angle down here, and again, auxiliary 2. And that way, if I have my switch flipped all the way down, I'm in angle. If I have my switch flipped in the middle, I'm in horizon. And then if I have my switch flipped all the way up, nothing means you're in rate mode. You have full control, and it's it's a lot of fun. So we got the most stability, we got where we can do some flips, and we got the ultimate just go out and have a blast. With those 3 things set, we're going to go ahead and click save. It says saved up there. And now we're going to go back into setup, and we're going to move the quad. Now the arrow's facing forward. If I pitch down, it pitches down, right, left, y'all right, y'all left. Guys, I will check that 100 times before I get done setting this up. So now what we need to do is we need to come down here into motors, and if you read this here, guys, you have to click this in order for you to be able to spin the motors up. Remove all propellers. Just remove them. Nobody wants to get cut. So if you remember, we went from 1,000 to 2,000, and that one's only going to 1850. Now remember, I don't have a battery plugged in yet. So what we need to do is we need to go in to here, and I guess it didn't take for some reason. So we'll put this back at 1075, 1500, 2000. Now if we go, and this changed, I guess I put 5 digits in there instead of 4. It changed to 2000. But I'll put it back at 1075. Now if we go back into motors, we should 2000, 1000. Alright, so now what we need to do is raise our master all the way up. It raises all 4 motors, or 6 or 8, however many you guys are using. We need to get our battery and then plug the quad in. This is going to put the ESCs in program mode. Then we go all the way down. Then we can test. Now what you want to do is, if you remember, this one's motor 1. You want to spin up motor 1. That's motor 1, and it's spinning in the correct direction. On your directions, always have them coming out and like they're coming around and forcing into the middle. It's the exact same thing in the front, whereas they come in and the propellers are always going to the center of the quad. Now we got number 2, which is up here. We got number 3. And then way up there we have number 4. Now that we know that they're all working, we can go ahead and turn that off. That way the motors do not spin. Alright, so now that we're done with that, guys, really you're ready to go out and give this thing a test flight. I mean, the setup on this is really simple. It's taken me a really long time to do it on here, but I guarantee if you do it once or twice and you go through it, you're just gonna breeze right through it. It's very simple, I promise. Alright, so we're just gonna recap here real quick. I went into the setup tab, and in here you can do backups. If you just hit backup, as you can see, I've made a few backups just in case I screwed something up. And then what you got is there's your month, your day, and then your year, and then here's the time, 1429. And then you can just click save. Then if you need to restore it, all you have to do is click it, configuring migration complete, EEPROM saved, rebooting, and then configuration restored successfully. It's that easy, guys. If you need to recalibrate your accelerometer, which is how it knows that you are level, then you can just put it on a level surface and then click calibrate accelerometer, and that's it. Calibrate magnetometer, you have to flip it 360 degrees on the roll, the pitch, and the yaw axis, and that basically just lets it know where north is. Right now mine is real close. In your ports, if you soldered it like I did, the UART3 is where you want your serial turned on. If you put it on 2, then turn that one on. Guys, UART1, make sure MSP is turned on. You know, there's a big old note up here that says you may have to reinstall a bunch of stuff, and a lot of work if you turn that off. In the configuration, now by the way, I didn't touch on this, but this is where you configure what kind of quad, hex, octo, whatever you have. I'm just doing a quad X. On here, you got motor stop, one-shot ESC support, and then disarm motors regardless of throttle value. And what that is it makes the motor stop spinning if you disarm it. You could be in the air, and if you hit disarm, it's going to kill the motors. A lot of times people will have these things and they'll let them spin to where it doesn't fall out of the sky, it doesn't do the pitch of death, it doesn't do things like that. If you turn your board to the left, 90 degrees to the left, you got to put 270 in here. Don't worry about these. And then you got to go clockwise 90 on your magnetometer. Receiver serial. We didn't touch any of this down here. The Spectrum 1024 is what I had to use. And then all of this stuff, I'm going to try to get into it in another video, but for right now, it's beyond just setting up. On your failsafe, you can set it, your failsafe procedure. Do you want to drop or do you want to land? I have it set to land because that's the default, and I'm not going to touch it. Your PID tuning, guys, this is going to be another video, and I assure you it is going to come out. You got your roll, pitch, and yaw, and then you've got your PID. So we're going to go through this in another video in depth. It's way too much to put in here. Your receiver basically just tells you, what your receiver is receiving from your transmitter. If you wanted to, you could do some throttle expo, yaw deadband, RC deadband. You could play with these. I'm going to try to get a video on these a little bit later, but like again, for right now, it's too much to put in this one video. On your modes, guys, you at least have to come in here and set up arm, and I would at least set up angle. Angle will not allow you to flip. Horizon will allow you to flip. As you can see, horizon went green, then there's angle, and then completely off is just all out rate mode. Then if I flip my disarm switch, and guys remember I have no props on this, so if you're testing this, don't put props on it, but I'll flip my switch off and the motors spin up very slow. Now one thing that does is if you chop the throttle in the air, it actually tries to stay upright as it comes down. If you just kill the throttle, it's just going to drop like a rock. It's probably going to pitch and it's going to crash, break something, and you're back in the pits replacing arms, props, or whatever. The adjustments we didn't touch, servos we didn't touch, GPS we didn't touch. Here in the motor, this is where you test your motors, make sure everything's working properly. We're not doing a race transponder, no LED strips yet, we will. Your sensors, this is basically just all your different sensors. Now this bar down here on the bottom is going to be your barometer, and basically the higher it goes, the higher you're going. The lower it goes, the lower you're going. So if you guys have a way to map this, fantastic, but I don't, not right now, not yet. And then tethered logging and black box we have not set up, and I don't plan on setting that up. I may get into it later, but that's going to be a whole different video. So with that, all we have to do is go out and just give it a shakedown flight and see what the quad is actually doing. I know this wire here is kind of blah, and then this wire here is just meh. Those will be fixed, I assure you. But for one, this is coming out the wrong end, but this right here goes to my VTX, and then obviously the receiver, and the receiver I put back here underneath the top plate to where it's up, it's out of the prop, and that way nothing gets in here and tears the antennas off, which will cause a brownout and crash. So let's throw the props back on. Like, remember what I said, these right here, they will always face in, no matter which, if you're looking at the front or the back, they will always go in. And that's on a quad. On a hex, it's a little bit different. So we're going to go ahead, put our props on, and then we're going to go outside and fly. And also remember, whichever way your props are turning, these should always tighten if you have different nuts for the right and left side, or clockwise, counterclockwise. So this one spins like this, which means this is a left-handed thread. Even though they are self-tightening, I do like to go ahead and come in here and just give them a little snug. And with that, all we got to do is go outside, give it a test flight. Alright, so here's the moment of truth. Now this right here is a switch that arms the quadcopter. So if it's flipped up, it's unarmed. If it's down, it's armed. So it gives me a real convenient place to just hit it instead of having to hold the stick and all that jazz. Go ahead and plug her in. Check prop clearance, which I'm glad I just did because it would have hit the satellite wire. So, yeah, the satellite wire and the power wire for the camera. I didn't take any time to get out of the way. I am running a 2200 milliamp battery, so it is sluggish as all hell. I am running 60 by 30 prop, or 60-30 props, 6 by 3. So a lot of RPM. I could probably go to a 6 by 4 and be a little bit better. And whenever I flip that switch off, you can see the motors just sit there and run. And if you hit the aileron or elevator, it does do something. Right now, I have no clue what mode I'm in. I forgot how I set it. I think this one is the angle mode, and then that's horizon, and then that right there would be nothing. Alright, I'm going to leave it in the first one, the bottom one, and we're going to give it a shot, see what it does, see if our hard work actually paid off. I do see a few little oscillations. So let's flip in the next mode. Okay. The flip rate is, oh my god, slow. Oh, we're gonna have to raise that up before we do that again. Alright. Check it over. Everything looks surprisingly good. That thing hit real hard. Nah, it did bend one of my little landing gears. Knocked it off. So we'll see if we can pull it back down. Everybody says don't use these landing gears, but I've used them since day one and haven't had a problem with them. Alright. Now, the battery wire is hitting. Alright, so I'm going to reroute this battery wire, and then we're going to fly some more. Alright, wrap the battery around the other side, and that way no props can hit the thing. Alright, we'll go ahead, disarm it. Motors are spinning. Let's go back into the other mode so we don't start doing flips and crap. That was kind of stupid. Yeah, if you can see, it's got a little bit of a yaw, or a little bit of a shake to it. It's not too awful bad. Like I say, it's sluggish, very sluggish. And chop the throttle, it'll pick right back up where it come from. Do some real slow circuits. All in all, it's not that bad. The yaw rate's extremely slow. That's all it's got right there. It does better with my other batteries. So there you go, guys. All of our hard work actually paid off. And this is the stock setting. I haven't adjusted any PID settings or anything like that. So just remember to raise your pitch and roll rate before you try to do a flip. Learn that one the hard way. So guys, I hope this helped you out. If you have any questions, you know, don't hesitate to come on over the forum. Don't hesitate to post in the comments. And I prefer you to come over to the forum. There's a lot more people to help you on there. So hopefully I'll see you on the forum. And I got to give GearBest a huge thanks for sending me this little Naze32. This is still a clone, but it flies really well. I plan on getting the real thing and trying to compare and see if it is any better. So guys, I look forward to see you on the forum. I want to thank you guys for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next video.